everybody. We have Dion from Tatum here, the CEO of Tatum. Uh, this is the fourth interview that we're gonna have to meet the attendees for the Token 2049 community initiative that we're having over here. Dion, please let us, our audience, know who you are and maybe present yourself shortly, and then you could also go into what Tatum is, what you guys are doing, and let everyone know what do you guys handle in the Web3 space.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Andy. It's very nice to spend this time with you today. Appreciate you having me on. So my name's Dion Cornett. I'm the CEO of Tatum. I've been here 4 months now. And by way of sort of mission here, I'm relatively new to the blockchain space. I've got a long background in open source, and within that, developer tooling and databases. And so I came at Tatum with the sort of view of blockchain as a very cool and interesting database family with some interesting characteristics.
Yep.
Just immutability, the distribution, sort of the zero trust elements. So these can be things that are tougher to reproduce in sort of traditional database. And so found that interesting, but it's been in sort of a very fun 4 months for me, because I've come to realize this isn't just another database family like SQL or NoSQL or streaming or whatever. This is, you have a data model along with this whole economic ecosystem that goes along with it.
Right.
And that it provides for a lot of opportunity. And so as a company, we try to make that easy. So Tatum is sort of early innovator in this space. We probably had one of the first SDKs out there. And our premise is very simple. How do we make Web3 easy for Web2 folks and really enable this range of potential emergent use cases that we're seeing for blockchain technology? We do this through we provide, first of all, infrastructure. So we provide node access, a variety of calls. Some of those relatively sophisticated, what you can do on chain. We provide a set of tooling, SDK tools, gas estimation, wallet tools, data insights. We index large chunks of a large number of chains. We support about 130 different chains today. And so we try to be a comprehensive place where people can come. They can find it relatively easy to learn how to use blockchain in their projects. And we've got deep technical expertise for 7 to 8 years in doing that.
I see. So, from what I understood also from the website and doing the research before the interview, you're kind of a one-stop solution for everything blockchain related in terms of development. So you're able to, at Statum, you're able to help everybody put their solution, whatever project they're having in mind, to good use and to actually develop it in terms of infrastructure, databases, and whatnot. What's basically behind the scenes, because obviously you're having the front end and the logic of a project, but you also have the infrastructure that holds everything. And we know, as you said, that you're from a lot of time into the development space, it's extremely important to have reliable infrastructure to work on.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey,
I wanted to ask you for a second because you said something that baffled me and it was quite interesting. What's your take on the open sourceness of Web3? You said about open source, and I know there are debates in the Web3 space. Obviously, there are debates whether a project should be open source or not. What's your take on it? On how do you see this aspect, this little conversation, let's say?
So just by way of background, I've been 20 plus years in open source work, 9 of those at Red Hat, and then a series of open source companies, MariaDB, Liquibase, DBeaver after that. And so intimately familiar with open source, the various business models, and why it's appealing to customers, right? It's the flexibility. You get this meritocracy of ideas, so the most elegant code tends to push its way forward. And the principles that underline that are meritocracy, transparency, freedom. And so in many ways, I'm thrilled about this space because I feel like it's sort of that next level of open source, for these values that we touted at these open source companies. And in many ways, we didn't fully embrace those. We'd always cheat a little bit in terms of meritocracy, and we'd push towards some code, even though the community might be going a different way. There was some conflict of monetization, and I sincerely feel like in some ways the blockchain community is more sincere about some of these values: transparency, meritocracy. These things push it forward, right? You do have these collaborative communities We're seeing very fast evolution, and I mean the shortcomings in blockchain is the data stores. It's been slow and expensive, right? And it's getting cheaper and faster every day, and that's pushed forward by this meritocracy. And so I think the sort of the freedom in this space and people's willingness to go against dogma and speak up is really refreshing for me. And the parallels between the space, I think the purity of these concepts in blockchain is fun, and engaging with the people that feel this way really resonates with me personally.
Yeah. No, well, it's about decentralization overall. So, after all, you'll have to have transparency in the Web3 space, and I also believe that this is a cool aspect of the Web3 space overall. Okay, I suppose we could also transition from this question of that was kind of specific with what you talked about open sourceness of on the state of the blockchain development, because obviously you and Tatum, you're doing the job from behind the scenes for the blockchain development industry and all that. What's your take on how it is right now? What's its state from your point of view, and maybe from Tatum as well?
Well, I talked about earlier about the improvements that we're seeing literally daily in terms of speed, performance of the blockchain solutions. And I think there's sort of this famous curve, the Gartner hype cycle, right? You have these very high expectations, sort of this trough of disillusionment, and then it comes toward mainstream. I really think we're sort of up on that next wave, and the reason being, you sort of need that second tier of things to supported new technology, right? Electricity wasn't all that useful when first invented, but once they came out with motors and assembly lines and lighting, then all of a sudden electricity had humongous value. And so blockchain sort of had this killer app store of value in cryptocurrency. And it's been waiting for some of the associated technologies to, the development, to be able to integrate this in enterprise environments, the dashboarding, all these things that come along. And I think now as we see this, I think it's a really exciting time for blockchain, and that you're seeing real world use cases where Web3 solves the problem better than Web2. And I don't think that's always been the case. I think for a while, blockchain was sort of technology looking for solutions. And I now think that's flipped with some of the advancements in technology. So first of all, I think it's a great time to be doing work in blockchain. The projects evolving are real, and they will have very long legs. And within the industry, there's also some things that are helping us. So a big chunk of our business today is providing infrastructure, and admittedly, that business is commoditizing. And so we're ourselves always trying to push down costs as we enhance performance, reliability. So this is RPC nodes doing basic calls. But again, as that business commoditizes, that opens up opportunities for Web3 apps to take over Web2 apps. And I think all in all, that's a very good thing. So I think value is going to shift from sort of base infrastructure into these higher levels of tooling that support specific use cases and make it fast to get there. Again, we focus on making it easy for a Web2 developer to come to Web3. We focus on making it more productive for an experienced Web3 developer to get things done faster. And so those higher value tools, APIs, specific pieces of functionality, I think is where the market is moving.
Right. I agree with you, because also I had a funny conversation, and it was some years ago with somebody from the crypto space, and back in the day, the talk was to try to find the usability for your project, or to actually link it to something productive, let's say. So now, seeing your perspective as a blockchain development company, that we flip the switch here and we flip the sides right now, that's a relief. And from my point of view, it's a good step forward. That's
Absolutely.
absolutely going forward means a lot for everybody in the crypto space as well. So going further with this idea, what do you see happening into the future? And I'm not talking maybe uh, AI or whatnot and the sexy terms, because there are also some narratives. But how do you see specifically the blockchain development into the future?
Yeah, so AI is going to be everywhere, just to knock that out. And so AI will help develop blockchain solutions as well. To be specific about some of these points of value, I think higher up in the stack, right? There's pieces of functionality that can be hard today. Like I want to know a wallet balance at a point in time, and I want validation that actually was the number, right? I want to be able to track the flow of funds, sort of map that out of bridging. the indexing the data and all the insights can be garnered from that. These are the things that are higher value than just doing a call or reading writing the chain. And so I think these are examples of capabilities that will make developers more productive. And one of the big things that will happen within all this is I think you're going to see what we're seeing already, right? A lot of cross chain capabilities. People have the token, they want to move from chain to chain, right? As a provider of some functionality, I may not want to dictate to my customers where they have to be, right? I want to sort of go to the flow of the customers. And so I think cross chain work, we're intimately involved in this as part of our heritage, right? Being able to work solutions across chains. Our API in many ways is extensible across all the chains we cover. So I think the advanced functionality, the cross chain capabilities are going to be a big deal for the next couple of years.
I see. That's a cool take, and I suppose you're probably right because of everybody talks about accessibility and making Web3 for also the regular users that maybe didn't have access to blockchain technology so far. So those seamless transitions would be well received probably for everybody, not just blockchain guys. Fine.
Yeah, and the more the standardization we get, the better it is. And you can look at some environments, say like financial services tends to be an innovator, right? They were innovators for Red Hat in the early days, innovators for open source databases, innovators. The competitive advantage is really garnered through software and financial services. And I think you see this today. You see it mixes for public and private networks. And so, how do I have tooling that works across JP Morgan's Onyx to the Canton solution that's going to some internal private blockchain to a public chain, because the customers of this bank are going to have things on public chains and they move back and forth. So this idea of common tooling that supports a variety of mixed environments will become increasingly important for developers.
Cool, cool. Do you think will have the ability to move NFTs across chains or something like that into the future? Would you think it would happen?
I do.
Yeah,
And again, the old saying, "Customer's always right." If let's say I've got a sort of a restaurant grading application that I put on Sui, and for some reason a particular chain becomes unwieldy or expensive or doesn't perform well, and I want to move that to a different chain, right? I want to be able to take my asset with me. I think the providers of these solutions are going to have to support that, right? They're just going to have to be able to accommodate sort of customer requirements. And also, I think cross chain. Look, we've seen examples of chains sort of blow up. Luna Classic example. I think recently we saw the Ton outage. Being able to move between chains is just common sense to provide the resiliency.
I see. Well, that's a cool take, and I can't wait for that. But I would assume that interoperability would be important, so you can't have a. I'm assuming a project would wants to develop this project of yours that you talked about NFTs with restaurant loyalty programs on Sui. I wouldn't think that maybe some other developers wouldn't want to link to that or add on top of it because obviously as much coverage you could have for every restaurant as better it is for the whole idea of loyalty programs and all that. Well,
Right.
that's a cool take on things. And yeah, you mentioned about the ton situation currently. Yeah, it's going crazy, and everybody is on Telegram hyping about even small video games and whatnot. I could see that happening.
So I'll just a little divergence here on Ton. I love Telegram. I love the stand that the company's taken for freedom. The obviously they prefer not to have the outage, but this is an example of where I think the values in Web3 are in some ways more sincere than the values in open source. And that open source would cave into some of these things or make some concessions that weren't necessarily consistent with the values. And so I think what's happening here with Telegram and Ton is just validation that this is an industry taking the high road.
Yeah, and I also believe that as you previously mentioned about being in the way of your customer, really met the expectation with Stone. The customers were there, so basically they just put themselves between the customers and their end goal. So that would be nice. Yeah, I would love to also ask you about humans because and people, because it's about people after all, and behind everything, even blockchain, there are people and employers and employees. What, how do you see the employment opportunities in the Web3 space and crypto space? Because there are mixed feelings about it, and some people are saying one or the other. What's your take on it?
The here's the reality. There's various stats, and so maybe off a million here or there, depending on what source you want to use. But I think some reliable data for last year, there are about 28 million software developers in the world. And again, depending on the source, that you see estimates anywhere from maybe 30,000 to 50,000 Web3 developers. And so it's a pretty elite core group of people that know how to do this today. And I think that it's paying big dividends for them. I'll admit it. As CEO, we're hiring pretty aggressively. We're bringing people on. Every company me, we're introducing one or two folks, and people just get a premium, right? There's a global rate for working on Web3 that you don't see in other technologies, and it's you sort of maybe in the U.S. it's a little bit more consistent between what you might pay a developer who knows Web2 and Web3. But if you go over into typical low-cost geographies, a Vietnam, a Philippines, a India, the Web3 developers there are literally making this sort of the global rate because of the sort of the mismatch in supply and demand. And that means that they can be making twice, two times, three times, four times what their peers are making because of this specialized skill set. And so I think, again, it's just indication of the health of the industry, that there's more demand for people building things in Web3 than there's actually capacity to serve that now. And so I think it's going to have long legs, people learning to how to perform in this space. And again, we want to support it. We want to make it easy. We want people to make the transition from Web2 to Web3. It's a big part of our ethos and why we exist, as a company. And so I think there's a bright future for Web3 opportunities for a long time.
So there's plenty of space for everybody here.
Yeah, I'd like to that number from 30,000, 50,000, 300,000, and 500,000 would be a nice move over the next few years. And so we'll see again as some of these real world use cases come to be. I think there's going to be a natural tug, and people are going to be scrambling to get up to speed.
I was laughing because I also had peers of myself personally that were going exactly on this idea that you said. Like, I was a developer or of whatever technology for, like, let's say 10 years, and why wouldn't I do a real quick course to have maybe 2x my salary, my current fee or salary, because it's into the Web3. So I was laughing back in at the start of your conversation, because I really heard about those premium prices, and people obviously, and I also, everybody could get the idea that why wouldn't you do another job that's paid way better? But in terms of opportunities, I hope it won't be the case like in the Web2 bubble, to be the same case and it will burst one day. But hopefully it will manage into the middle, so everybody would be paid fairly, because developers are the backbone of every technology as a whole. So we wouldn't want to.
I'd also say about this space is there's an artistry here. Like if you're doing some data security stuff or some DBA database kind of work, I think there's some cool stuff happening in DevOps, but there's some mundane jobs you can get in IT. And the cool thing about this space is every day you're seeing problems that you haven't seen before, right? And it's not like you're just going to tab 9 or Copilot and, okay, give me the code for the 40th time that does this. I mean, you really have to put some creativity into, all right, how do we solve this? Scratch your head a little bit. And that's fun for me. Okay, I'll be open with you. I had retired for a year and a half, right? And, had a good run, some companies that had done well, and hit the beach. And part of my enticement to get back into full-time work was, hey, this is a cool space. Let's learn about it. And again, it's sort of a short time. I'm still on my honeymoon here, but it's been a fun 4 months. And the creativity I feel every day in this role is better than retirement. It's better than being on a beach somewhere. And yeah,
So you
I say
so,
sincerity.
so you
And so
basically got tired of staying and doing nothing. That's cool.
it, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it obviously the Web3 space being new and everybody is developing, you always have something new to do. I remember back in the day, yep, ERC 1155, ERC for everybody was talking about something new. So obviously you have to be creative to find solutions for everything that the, the new stuff that comes by, because it's not an old technology like 15 years ago and you'll find something on a forum. You'll have to put your mind to it. So I totally got your point. But I'm excited to see you eager to actually be back into the game and into the trenches
Yeah,
with everybody else.
there's I mean, so I'm a chess player. Just a little side on me, and this feels like one of the coolest chess games, right? Every day it's a new little puzzle for, yeah. So
You're learning new openings, so
yeah, yeah.
that's a cool one.
Metal game, it's all to be had.
Okay, cool. Let's go back. So toward the ending of this interview, let's go back a bit to Tatum for some specific questions. What do you do? What are you planning? What's something exciting you want to share with us, or from Tatum's roadmap, or maybe something that wasn't out so far, or something spicy, let's say.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about creating these higher layers of value on infrastructure to sort of speed productivity or make things easier. To be in a couple other, so there'll be an investment in SDK and tooling, the cross chain things I talked about, mixed public private. Certainly leveraging open source code is out there, extending it. There's some good frameworks out there. Others JS, Web3 JS. We think about how do we extend value on top of those. And so that technical aspect of the business is proceeding well. Some of the newer things we're thinking about is how do we build out the ecosystem, right? If you actually look at all the components that we pulled together for a Web3 app, you do introduce some things that you don't necessarily have with Web2 app, right? Like the management of gas fees is sort of a simple example, and wallet balances, and there's tax ramifications that go along with that. And so there's some aspects that you get more complex. They're typically outside maybe the domain of building an app. And so we're not going to try to do all this in-house, but we have started. You can find on our website. There's this concept of ecosystem that we have where, okay, what are complementary solutions? Many of those will be API based as well that we can sort of bundle up with our solution. It may just be co-sale, it may be embedded in some cases. But all this goal around ecosystem is, again, sort of one-stop shop. Let's make everything easy, consumable. Let's go from here to getting my app done quickly. And so we'll be investing a lot in sort of ecosystem and those partners over the next number of years. And as we talked about earlier, I think that the cross-chain capabilities are going to be key. There's a set of activities we're well underway with that allow information to flow and tokens to flow and dashboarding and portals and stuff cross-chain. And so those are the big things for us. So it's sort of the advanced tooling, it's the ecosystem, the strong cross-chain capabilities that define our roadmap. And we're always happy to sit down with the development community and customers to go through that to check, see how it aligns with their internal plans and needs. It's one of the things we take very seriously is listening to the market and feeding that back into our sprints.
Cool. So to summarize, somehow you're focusing at Tatum, you're focusing on your ecosystem and trying to make developers' life as easy as possible going further and as easy it gets. I would assume and hope for the whole ecosystem to have even more developers that are are coming with new brain ideas and new eyes to develop more solutions. Thanks for sharing with us the roadmap and what you're thinking.
Yeah,
And
and I'll just say on that last point, I mean, if there's someone in your audience who's building a cool app and they're wondering about how bringing that to market, definitely reach out to me. It's easy. Dion at Tatum.io. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Dion Cornett. And we'd love to look at potentially partnering up with them, right? Any given month, we'll have 30,000 developers log into our portal and do things with us. And so we can expose a cool technology to a pretty broad audience of people working on things. And so, yeah, if you have someone listening who is worrying about, hey, how do I bring this to market? We'd love to talk to them.
congrats about the numbers. I don't think I saw the numbers, but congrats for having such numbers on your platform. I suppose it's a great milestone for you guys and for also for the crypto industry to have so many brilliant minds going there, so sharing ideas and whatnot. I'll also will try to link you with everybody else, and I'll ask you for all the informations, all your links, and I'll also drop them into the comments and into the description of the video, and as well as sharing it with anybody that wants to talk to you anytime soon. So, wrapping it up, I would love to ask you another shorter question and more out of the blue. I suppose you might have heard about the one thing, the book from Gary Keller, sorry, and he was talking about the one thing. Uh, as you know, what would you do to, or what would you be the one advice that you would love to share with everybody, whether it's Web3, Web2 ecosystem, whatever you would love to share with everybody in this world, for instance, what would you tell people?
Oh wow! What narrowing it down to one thing is pretty tough, but I hopefully it came across a little bit in this call. You've got to be passionate about what you work on, right? Life is too short to step up every day and go to a job that doesn't thrill you, motivate you, make you want to come to it. And so if you're not doing that, then find something different to do, take time off, whatever. But um, it's important that you're passionate about what you do. Don't have this sort of quiet life of contentment. Do something that makes a difference.
I love it. Yeah, I love the passion about having to do something and wanting to do something, being eager to wake up in the morning and do it. Did your pause help you in this regard?
I've had the good fortune of working for some very innovative and great leaders. I'll call out one, Matthew Zulik, who was sort of the original IPO CEO of Red Hat, and really got Red Hat from selling ball caps to a $1 billion company. And he one of the things that he did that has really sort of helped me from a leadership perspective is recognizing the importance of the individual contributor. And if you think about the sort of early 2000s and that period, the business world was celebrating these sort of tyrannical kind of leaders, right? You'd see the Larry Ellison or the Steve Ballmer on the cover of these business magazines, and even Steve Jobs to some extent, sort of dictatorial view, and we're going to do it my way. And I think that's sort of an artifact of a bygone era. And today, it's really about the power of the developer, the individual contributor. And I think Matthew was an absolute leader in the industry in sort of changing this mindset between management and the team. And so, at Tatum places where I've been, it's about your idea matters more than your title, right? My role as CEO is no more significant than anyone else's. And there's a set of things I do. I do interviews, I talk to investors, that, I help work with the team on roadmap and go-to-market plans. But it's just one job. And I think this appreciation for the team as a whole and every individual's role in that is one of the things I took away from, again, a great IT leader, Matthew Zulik, who was very sort of counterculture at the time that he was promoting these ideas. And I think, and this again translates into this concept of passion. When you're a team and not bosses and workers, people are much more passionate about what they do, and it just leads to better outcomes for everyone.
Great to hear. I love it. I love the ideas you're presenting, and I would love for everybody on this planet to have a passion in them to do their job and have a easy time working on everything that they want. But we're going there steadily and step by step, I suppose, because as you said, from the Web 2 and the dot-com bubble, there were some big giants that came up, and obviously they were the pioneers, but also they were kind of tyrannical, as you said.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're venturing into a
yeah, we're in a
corner.
better phase of management today, no doubt.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for your time. I loved our
It's
conversation.
been great. I enjoyed it. I look forward to meeting you in person, hopefully sometime here soon. And yeah, thank you for having me on.
Thank you too. Have a good one, and I'll see you at Singapore.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap. We had Dion Cornett with us from Tatum. with an interesting conversation on business development and the state of the Web3 industry currently. If you want to take note and connect with them, whether it's with Dion or with Tatum, I'll drop all the links into the description of this video. Please drop a like and a follow, and we'll be coming next with a new interview very soon. Have a good one, and let's talk crypto.